Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Enforcer and the Dude. Paul Morris, Russell Ingall. We're at the Norwell Motorplex, sunny Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia. Paul, good to be back again online.
It is online.
How's the last show?
Mate, I can't believe that.
400 or more than 400,000 views on our two platforms, which is YouTube and Facebook.
Yeah, and it was first time we sort of dropped midweek, so it was incredible. So it shows that people are obviously sick of watching the shit that's on TV and like what we're doing, I think. So.
No, it was great. I mean, that's our biggest show by far. So thank you to everyone,
Yeah, thanks,
and
everyone.
especially all the comments. There was some really cool. I've got to actually pull some comments out. There was some absolute classics. We got a real good fan base that watched the show because you can see they've got a bit of spirit and know how to have a laugh as well. Some great. I'm going to actually pull out and put a list on social media of all the comments. There's some classic
Some good.
ones.
There's even some Peter Adderton fans now. So
How did Pete come out well?
he did, well, he's got a good story to tell, hasn't it? And I don't think you could tell it on any other platform. We had the time to actually take the time to actually show who he is. So
Yeah, because everyone smashed him up, didn't they?
Well, they don't know him,
initially,
mate.
but they don't know the guy.
They don't know the guy. So
Yeah, you don't get to be that successful if you're a knob. Like he's look, he knows how to grab a headline. There's no doubt about that.
no, he's a crazy cat, but he's successful and always good fun to be around.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a great interview that we did.
It's a cracker, isn't it?
Yeah, with Mick and Jack Doohan. So don't go anywhere, folks, because it is a really good. Pretty candid. There's stuff there that I didn't know about Mick and all sorts of things. And I think for the motorbike enthusiasts, this is a must-see.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff there where he's got into the riding style and the technical aspects of riding taming one of those 500s. So stuff that, when he was saying that stuff, and I've been around Mick for a long time, we've been mates for 30 years, and there's some stuff I've never heard him talk about either. So it's a ripper. Sit down and watch that one. It's coming up, and then Jack Doohan as well is pretty cool. He's got confidence, but he's a likeable confidence. It's not cocky. And you've got to have confidence, and it's going to be interesting to see where he goes too. It's going to be a good one.
And we wanted to make it about both of them because, past and present, that's what we like to do about the show.
Yeah.
And Jack's definitely an up-and-comer and definitely a different career path. But stay tuned, that's coming up next. Has been a little bit of news come up around the place as well, so let's touch on a little bit of that before we roll into that interview.
Good.
Supercars have done a revised calendar for 2020. So before, and we were talking about on the last show when Roland was in here, it was going to roll through into 21. They've scaled it right back. It's going to be short, sharp and fast, starting at Sydney Motorsport Park in June 27, 28, 2-day meeting. It's probably a more logical calendar.
Yeah, I think so, Russ. It's I think this is about maybe some team sponsor contracts. Do the contracts roll into next year? So getting it all tidied up at the back end of this year probably makes a bit of sense. Hopefully we get a reset and come back into 2021 with everyone feeling good about themselves. But there's a big one missing from there.
There's a huge one, and that's the only thing about supercars sometimes. That they're a little bit quick to pull the trigger. I understand their circumstances and all this, and no one could ever.
It's a real difficult situation.
It is a difficult, but it's a bit like if you're a chippy, measure twice, cut once. Sometimes I think they do it the other way around. But you got to
maybe, mate. But it's hell. Like you're dealing with different state governments. Are the borders open? Are they closed? And now we're seeing things changing again in Victoria. So the thing we're talking about is the Bend Motorsport Park missing off that calendar. Sam Shahin's come out and been pretty vocal about not being included.
I've read a pretty mean statement that he's put out there. Jesus, giving them a hiding.
Yeah, well, he has, and if I was him, I'd be pretty pissed off too. So if you look at the last permanent circuit that got built in Australia was Queensland Raceway. It's over 20 years ago. It was financially unsuccessful. The Ipswich City Council had to take it over. So it's basically a public funded circuit. Now John Tetley leases it off the council and runs it. But those guys have put their own money in and built their own track. And as an industry, supercars are the leader of this industry, whether they like it or not to support those guys is a big call, because all the other events are government funded events, either tracks or government support. One day that's going to turn up and dry off, and you're going to need guys like the Shahins.
Yeah.
The Shahin family have put their money where their mouth is and built a fantastic facility. I just think we need to be supporting him no matter what.
Yeah, and that money, like you said, the government money could dry up sooner rather than later, because there's no doubt about it, after we come out the back end of this pandemic, governments are going to be tight on resources and funds, and sports, unfortunately, are the ones that are going to cop it along the way. They're going to get a haircut, there's no doubt about it. But you're right, and I sort of look at the calendar, and when I look at, Wanneroo as well, October, around that sort of time, why couldn't they made a consecutive weekend where you went to Adelaide then Wanneroo, or Wanneroo first and Adelaide on the way back? If it's about cost cutting, number one, do you think they should be going to the Ben rather than Wanneroo anyway? Because if you're trying to cut costs,
well, it's a big haul over there.
That's a massive haul.
It's which state government do you want to piss off? Do you want to piss off someone from the state government, or do you want to piss off the Shahin family? So they've obviously chose which one they want to piss off. But I think it's a short-term game, Russ. I really do.
Yeah. Surely there must have been a way around it somehow.
The one I see is Sandown.
Is it because Adelaide? Because they've had a round in Adelaide, so they think, oh well, that's South Australia done.
I think so, but Sandown for me is the one where you go, could you go onto the Ben or go to Sandown?
Yep.
I'd say, yeah, you could go to the Ben. Do the teams save a bit of money racing in Sandown? Well, some of the teams do. The Melbourne-based teams don't have to travel. They don't have to buy hotel rooms. They don't have to do any of that. But I just think to not go and support that facility is just real short-sightedness. You've got to push the fast-forward button and go, we need permanent circuits, we need facilities for the whole sport.
I couldn't agree more.
And I just would have found a way to get that deal done.
And mate, and we're not just talking about supercars here as well, we're talking about club racing and every form of motorsport relies on permanent circuits at the end of the day.
And more so, Russ.
And supporting that for the everyday racer, for the clubby racer, right to the top end of professional racing. And look, you got 2 rounds at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Well, I get that. You had to.
Well, why? Why?
Here's why. I'll tell you why. You had to pick somewhere where you had to get the first race done. Yeah. And it has to be easy for all the teams to get to and have no restrictions getting in and out.
But why have it on the last one then? Why couldn't you have the Ben there?
Well, they've obviously got a contract with New South Wales State Government to have the last round in New South Wales somewhere, which would have been Newcastle, which has gone, so it's now Sydney. So that's a government deal. Simmons Plains, why are you going there? Taking money off the state government, so you want to keep the dough. They probably already had the dough. Wanneroo, state government, super cheap auto Bathurst 1000, state government money. State government money, Winton Motor Raceway, you probably need to go there. I reckon there might be some money there. Well, there's definitely state government money to support that circuit.
You want to go to Winton, that's fair deal.
You've got to go to Winton. You've got to go and support them.
Because that's what we're saying, support permanent circuits.
Yeah, there's all these deals in place. Someone's got to be dropped off the list, but...
No, the public statement that was put out, Sam... the Ben Motorsport Park saying, that supercars owe South Australia an apology. So, it was, and he got stuck in. So it's interesting reading. If anyone hasn't read it, jump online and have a read. I think like you said, he makes some pretty valid points.
I would too. You think of what they've invested in there as a family, and they're all...
Yeah. It's a great facility. Look, it is a little bit divided. People say it's too far out of town and all that. But look, we've been there plenty of times before, and we only went there towards the end of last year. I went there with the TCRs, you were there with the Hyundais.
We had a great time,
it was fantastic.
Went down to the local pub.
You go to the local pub and seriously, they are the nicest people down there.
The toilets are clean.
Everyone, the whole area gets into it.
Yeah.
It's a lot different feel than the Adelaide Street Circuit. The Adelaide Street Circuit it's pretty Hollywood and it's in the middle of town, that's all the rest of it. This has got a completely different feel, which is great. So to say there's 2 in South Australia and they're the same, they're not. The feel is completely different, and to not support them, in our personal opinion, and my personal opinion, is not the right call. But anyway, like I said, there'll be plenty of thoughts about that, and I'm sure everyone will have differing opinions, but yeah, it's not good to see, and obviously we feel for the bend, and
we'll be supporting them.
Absolutely, we will be.
Yep. I'm going to go to any race I can there and try and enter a car and support those guys. So,
yeah.
Any club races, anyone out there that sees an event on at the bend, if you've got a car, tow it down there and go and support those guys, because
absolutely,
that's what it needs to be done.
Absolutely. Just another story on, again, these stories come out. This was in Speed Cafe about control parts could cut costs for supercar teams. This was a quote from Roland Dane in the story, but
yep.
Look, seriously, apart from I think we know that. I mean, how long have we been banging on about this? I mean, it's been years about which direction that Gen 3 will go. I'll be really interesting to see the blueprint that's come out. Roland Dane, indirectly, when he was on this show last time, said, yeah, look, we've designed something that is quite a bit different. Obviously, a lot of control components. We think they should go all the way with a controlled engine. I think that is an absolute no-brainer. I bet you they won't, in my opinion, and they should. But you know, like we've been, and this is not having a go at Roland. I mean, Roland knows this. Roland knows they got to have control parts to control the cost. But man, if they don't, I got a feeling they'll come back with something really token. You know, it'll be a controlled split pin. It won't be. It still won't be enough. What do you think? For
the current car, I don't think it matters.
For the next one.
For the next one?
Yeah.
The Gen, whatever it is?
I hate all these Gen things. I just wish they come.
I think it's going to be a control everything.
You reckon it will be? Yep. You reckon they'll get it through? Will sense prevail, finally?
Well, it has to, mate. Because there's no one around going to be able to afford to race anything else. So
yeah.
To steal Roland's quote, cut your cloth accordingly, what he's saying. Yeah, I think it just has to be.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, we've been through it all before, and I've got a bit of an idea in my head too, Paul, what we can do. I think we can test 3 race cars of certain types,
yep.
which I reckon will give a pretty good indication which direction we think that supercars should go in the future.
I get it. So you reckon run some cars around?
Run some cars, yeah.
Build a bit of a Frankenstein.
Yeah,
I reckon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we test 3 different types of cars, and let me work on that one. I think it'd be pretty cool but we've already been through this, and like I said in previous episodes, you haven't seen it before, go back and have a look. And it is really very well. In our view, it's very simple, but you know, I think sometimes people make it hard for themselves when it's actually not that hard. And like you said, they got to do it, otherwise they might not be around to worry about it. Simple as that.
It won't be.
All right, we're going to roll into this Mick Doohan.
Yep.
Do an interview.
Yeah, grab yourself a beer or a coffee or whatever you're drinking at the moment and sit back, because this is a ripper.
This is a pretty cool one, and so if you're a MotoGP fan, we're huge GP fans, you know, both of us, because you know we can appreciate you know how skilled the riders are.
Skilled, brave.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think one of my best times when I was with Fox was I did the MotoGP show one night with Chris Vermeer.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And Kevin McGee.
Yeah.
Couple of cracking blokes, really good. And I really like bike guys and bike racers. You know, they're just cool people, and that was one of the best shows. Enjoyable because I enjoy watching it and commentating on it as well. And they're just cool people to be around. And so sit back, relax, roll the tape.
Today we're installing yellow tongue onto our floor joists. So we're using the Sudal Sudabond subfloor adhesive, and then we're fitting off with the Simpson Strong Tie quick drive system.
It goes down as a foam, drops down to a gel. You then place your boards down on top and it'll foam back up. Ultimately what that's going to do is stop squeaking down the track.
When we screw off the floor compared to nailing, we're getting a higher clamping force, which is going to help reduce the amount of squeaks and play within the floor.
With the two working together, you get a really good fixing.
Far out, dude. This is a pretty impressive joint here that Mick's got in it.
It's a nice property, isn't it?
It is. Hey, look, allegedly, you know, some famous people have sort of hung around these parts.
Yeah? What are you saying? Like who?
Well, wasn't Johnny Depp here?
Oh, I don't know about that, mate. There was definitely a couple of dogs here. I saw it on telly.
Oh, really? Smuggled in?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they're still here.
No, I think they flew back private jet.
We'll go check it out. All right, dude. Here we go. I'm looking forward to this.
Okay, mate.
Well, dude. Jeez, it's a cool place, isn't it? Pretty
Pretty
Hollywood.
flash, yeah. Well, he does things right, mate.
He does. All right,
Five times world champion because he doesn't do things properly.
you're not. No. Look at that, the doorbell, wouldn't you? G'day, mate. How you doing?
Hey, good to see you guys. It's a surprise.
What's happening? Ta-da! How you go? Just
Come
passing
on through, yeah, definitely. Come on down.
Yeah.
Have a look.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
This is. Have you seen this before, Russ?
I was here many years ago,
Yeah.
many years ago, one of Mick's parties.
Oh,
But, I tell you what, I've forgotten what it's like.
Yeah, a couple of old bits of
Holy,
garbage you need to push out of the way.
Bit of two-stroke action.
Yeah, a bit
how
of
cool is
two-stroke.
this?
It's good.
How cool is this?
So 5 bikes, 1 from each championship, and as race, Mick.
Yeah, pretty much as race. So, you know, at the end of the season, so depending when it was won.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of them as race, they're not show bikes, you know, because there's a few others out there, but are show bikes. You know, some of them are a blend of all different
Parts left
eras,
over.
parts left over. These are exactly as the season finished.
Man, I've seen some man caves in my time.
What's
It's got to be the best. I
isn't
mean,
it?
well, the significance as well of it. You know, like 5 world championships, Mick. I mean, you're one guy, and I think I feel like this with all bike guys more than anything. You know, proper race bike guys, that they don't pump up their tyres very much. But 5 championships in a row,
Yeah,
in an era that was out of control. I mean, because they were hard to ride, these 500ccs.
Yeah, look, I think everything's still hard to ride, no matter which era you're in. And yeah, but certainly two-stroke, towards the end of it, they started to get a little tamer. But, you know, in that sort of mid-80s to mid-90s and perhaps even the mid-70s when they started coming out, when they were just hand grenades and a lot of people were just, things were locking up. Yeah. But in the 80s, the mid-80s and mid-90s, things were just getting out of control. And then they started getting a little bit more electronics, toning them down, playing with the ignitions. But still a lot of fun to ride, and you know it's good to have a couple here, you know. But as far as having the ego, he needs one of them, you know. You just want to ride the bike, you know.
Russ needs that's why we're still doing the show.
No, but I compare it to bike guys. You know what I mean? Like, car guys. You know, car racers. They tend to be a bit, you know, what's to say? It's occasionally a bit full of themselves. But I think I don't know whether it's because it's so dangerous. Because it's severely one of the dangerous sports in the world.
I put it back to, you know, I know some car racers who have made it all the way through.
Yeah.
And they're cool as cool. It's the ones who sort of are down here. They're the ones who think they're there.
The ones that didn't quite get there.
Of course they think they're there, they don't get there. And that's the problem.
They're the ones who make the noise.
That's a good point.
It's a lot, I think there's a lot of different industries are the same.
Yeah.
Do you have you're saying the earlier ones were hard to ride compared to the later. Do you have a favourite out of the 5?
So the favourite, well, actually on this one here is the one that we toned the horsepower down a little bit.
So that's the 90.
This is 97.
97.
It's
Okay.
rideability.
So no, just to make it a little bit more user friendly.
Yeah.
So you know, 96 I think, which was this one here, had the most horsepower. But you know, just as you're about to roll out of the throttle, the front wheel would come in the air. So it's hard to brake with the front wheel in the air.
Okay.
I reckon it will be.
So
the Japs were trying to make flat horsepower.
Just horsepower. Because
And
you
you
want to
well,
get from
still
A to
gotta be able
B.
to ride it.
You know,
Yeah.
exactly. You know, so there's, you know, the straights generally, even on a 2-minute lap time, is only about 8 seconds. You know, on something like this. So, you know, and you're fighting all over. That's the only time you can rest a little bit. So, you know, in all the short bits, just when you're trying to sort of get at the thing and jump, just try and leap out of your hands, and you're trying to pull it up. So we toned it back a bit for this year, and this was the most dominant of the championships of this bike. And then 98 went to unleaded fuel, and that was just like
Toned it down.
Yeah, it was a pig.
Took all the spark out of it. Yeah, okay.
But it
Anyone
dropped.
can ride them.
Exactly. Seriously, it was like a big 250. So that's when corner speed started to become more important.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
tyre development sort of started to push a bit further.
Yep.
And because again, corner speed, whereas these things here, you couldn't keep them on the side and crack the throttle, it'd just want to go sideways.
Would just spin it up, would it?
Yeah.
So they'd still spin, but you could just get your momentum going again because you needed to sort of get it going.
Yeah.
So 98 was the most boring bike to ride, and the rest of them were
Right. On the edge.
fun.
On the edge. Look, I want to roll back to when you first got into MotoGP, because a lot of people don't actually know this, of the struggles you went through right out the gate. Because what was it when you had a big off and damaged your leg initially? 93?
92, yeah.
92 was it? So you did some severe damage to your leg, and at one stage they were going to amputate it. Is that correct?
No, absolutely. The
It still looks a bit like they did.
exactly. So it's good storytelling. But
Yeah.
that season I'd won the first 5 out of 7 races,
Right.
and then the bike landed on top of me after just breaking a set of pistons in, preparing it for the race the next day, or I think it was the next day, and then. But yeah, I touched a bit of oil or something apparently, and then anyway, the bike landed on top of me. I spun myself out to get out from underneath it because I'm sliding up the road and not off it, and then you'd hit the grass and you'd separate because of the way I hit this bit of fluid. They just red flagged the session, in fact.
Yeah.
But I went through and then I hit this thing, and the bike's on top of me. I spun out from underneath it. When I went to stand up, you could feel the bones grind. I went, okay,
Come and get me.
come and get me. And that was and it was a bit of a wrong decision on my behalf to just go, okay, there was 2 weekends off. So normally there's a weekend off maybe, or they're back to back.
Yeah.
So 2 weekends off, I thought, well, if I just go and bolt it back together, I can perhaps be on the grid for this.
Keep racing.
Keep racing, I've got 14 days up my sleeve essentially. But it was a wrong decision because, the area, the hospital I went to, which was looking after the Grand Prix at that time, since found out you had a car accident out the front of the circuit,
Yeah.
and had a trauma injury, they wouldn't send you. They'd send you to Amsterdam or Groningen. They wouldn't send you to that place.
Yeah.
So I was in the wrong place. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But like everything, the sport's evolved from my injury as well.
Yeah.
The whole the medical support at each race is different now. It's a bit more thought out, and where you're going, what happens if this happens. But so it was just one of those things, and then a compartment syndrome set in, and I think one of the other doctors who got myself and Kevin Schwantz out of there could see that was going to happen. So he was on top of it from the outset, and when the doctor told him that if I didn't improve in 24 hours, they were going to amputate my leg. So that's why he came
They
and got
grabbed you out,
and
rescue
then,
mission.
and away we went. But
Yeah.
equally, on the day of the crash, that same doctor that came and got me said that, look, it's just a spiral fracture. If you put it in a plaster cast, you can be back in Brazil in 6 or 7 weeks later.
Yeah.
I said, don't be silly. Let's just bolt it together and I might be back.
I got a championship to win.
So anyway, I was back 6 or 7 weeks later in Brazil, but with half a leg basically. So and then it took me 18 months to get over that. But yeah, 91, 92.
You only just lost the championship that year.
I lost
as well.
it by 4 points,
4
which
points.
they changed the points also in that year, only up to 10th position instead of 15th. So
Yeah.
had it been a normal season, I would have had that 4 points.
Incredible story, isn't it?
It is
But
incredible.
equally, 91 they had, let's say there was 15 races, only 13 counted. So on a count back situation, it was also another one that was sort of like this. But as I say, if you
Makes
you
you
only
know what
had
all those
balls-
blokes on work cover are doing, don't they? Oh, well, I've got a sore finger, I can't come to work today.
This is why I always say that anyone that rides these things, and those sort of stories, Mick. Anyone normal, if I can use that term, would go, I'm out. That changes your life, and then you've jumped back on, and within 18 months you're winning 5 world championships in a row.
Yeah,
seriously.
and that was what the drive was, to keep going, because I knew that if I got myself strong enough, then I could sort of perhaps try and win, because I was winning quite comfortably. So if I could get to within a margin of that, I knew I could win again. So that kept me going. I hadn't won the championship, but like you were saying, most sports people, regardless of what discipline, they know they can get injured.
Yeah.
It's just part of the game. So you push yourself to keep going. If you're just walking down the street and get taken out by a bus, as woe is me, or and then there are other few who actually play on it. Pick my toe, but I'll be out for 6 months.
Tell me with that, do you think? Okay, you had the injury. You still went on to win 5 World Championships. If you didn't have that injury, could you have won them by even more? Do you think it actually hindered your riding, or?
Well, I lost the mobility of my right ankle, so again, movement around the bike. I couldn't use the rear brake, so I adapted a rear brake. Certainly 93, my leg had a non-union, so at the end of the season it had a 20-degree angulation, and I could grab my ankle and grab my knee and flex the leg.
Yep.
So I was riding essentially almost with one leg in 93 just to secure a contract for 94. So, so perhaps, but it's like anything, if my auntie had balls, she'd be my uncle, wouldn't she? So many different variables in sport.
If it was any other sport, you'd be in the special division. In the handicap division. Well, you've got to put that into perspective.
It's just...
The thumb brake thing, Mick, was brilliant, really, because you couldn't use the brake on the right-hand side.
No.
Then you adapted the thumb brake. We can probably get a shot of that.
Yeah, so these are already starting to get a little bit advanced, but the first one over there, Honda were doing... Honda, made the caliper, made the whole box and dice. It was terrible, to be honest. And I convinced them to go to Brembo brakes in the early 90s. They were running their own brake system, and then finally got them for Brembo to make everything. Now it's a production item. So this one here's got the latest. If you can come over here, I'm not sure whether you guys can get some light, but so this is a production item. All the master cylinder, the brakes. The caliper on the thing, I think even that one's got the caliper on it, but so now you can actually just buy these things for your Honda you ride down to pick up your coffee with, so but it was a good thing, and like with anything, now I've got an advantage. Well, okay, we'll take your take your right foot away.
Exactly. So was that a drama? Were they having a bit of a run at you about that?
They were, but now even today, there's some of the MotoGP guys still run the rear thumb brake. So it was never like people with common sense just sure.
It doesn't work.
So legality-wise, it was okay by the association to have it. You could have it. The brake doesn't matter foot or hand operated.
So so in fact, I needed to remove it because as you can see, there's nothing left because when I move forward, because as I mentioned before, you're sort of all climbing all over the bike with weight transfer.
Yeah.
And if I move forward, my ankle goes forward, so I'll be standing on the rear brake. So that would be, just suicide. So that wasn't really an issue. There was a few people bitching and moaning, but in the end, a few of the guys then started to try it themselves and found it didn't make any difference. If anything, it was more difficult because it's a bit like riding with your right hand and trying to go, okay, now I'm going to use my left. Well, if your right hand still works, you're always going to
go back to muscle memory, isn't it?
Whereas if that one's gone, then you'll pick that one up fairly quick. So by the end of it, it was just a subconscious thing. I'd jump on, clutch and brake, because the clutch there was no traction controls. That's the only way you'd actually regulate the wheel spin was by the clutch. And then, so I needed that rear brake, but by losing half a finger and screwing up that one, I also had to adopt a different clutch system, so a hydraulic clutch system, which made, even though that one's not working at the moment, but
so before it was
very light,
So you had the power to do it.
So that's why, again, if people remember, my starts were terrible because the clutch system was that bad yourself because I needed the rear brake, and I needed a finger to hang on to.
Yeah.
And I needed one for the clutch.
We just thought that was part of the strategy. You'd transform your tyres up and come through and knock everyone off and get the trophy.
See, but that was real. It's like we talk about car racing now, how it's too car orientated nowadays in equipment.
Engineers championship.
Yeah, instead of, this is raw. To me, this was raw. Like you're explaining there, you got traction control, but you were doing it with a clutch. But it's all manual. It's all seat of the pants stuff as well. And it's a lost art up to a point. In motorsport, I think it is.
Definitely in touring cars and Formula One, there's a lot of electronics.
Is there too much technology nowadays in GP?
Well, perhaps, but the manufacturers don't want to kill anyone either. So that's the other thing. So, they're around 300 horsepower, around 150 plus kilos, you know, so that's the power to weight ratio is pretty good, but then you put somebody on it, of course. But, you know, just the talk of those things. So a lot of the good riders have the traction control toned down to the minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, and I still think the good guys could probably handle it a bit. But you see, you know, sometimes a couple of bikes come together and the sensors they'll clip a sensor.
Right.
And next time the guy goes whack on the throttle and hoping that the traction control.
Yeah.
Because now you just don't see any of the high sides any longer. So again, back to what we were talking about earlier, corner speed's much more important now as well. So the maximum and lean angle for a lot longer. And so generally if they fall, it's low side. It's very rare are they flicking up over because of the traction control. Also the slipper clutches, everything going into turns. So
I think that happened to Danny Pedrosa, didn't it?
That's right.
He come together with,
I think his teammate,
Yeah, it was too. Yeah, and that kind of sensor hit it.
But you've seen a few of the guys on Yamahas like Lorenzo as well, just, you know, really high, the same thing. Just, you know, giving it and the computer's just going, really? You know? We're not hooked up.
Did you ever race, did you ever test or a four-stroke when it went to the four-stroke era?
Never did a real test.
Real test,
Did a couple of... you know, before they released them, I did a couple of demonstrations for Honda.
Yeah.
And then at Phillip Island, I rode Casey Stoner's bike in 12 or 13, you know, and thought I was going quick, but I mean, the months were passing by by the time I did a lap. But, you know, and the same thing, the Japanese were pretty, you know, because again, I'm used to using a clutch. Whereas now, once you let the clutch out, you don't touch it, you know, because it messes with the brain for the traction control and all the... So the first time I rode it and thinking, oh, Mick-son, please don't use a crutch. Because, you know, but even myself at that, the speed I was going, they must have the traction control wound up that much that I was ahead of, you know, thankfully, I was ahead of, well, thankfully they had it wound up that much, I mean, but yeah, I was sort of putting more gas and it wasn't allowing me to actually go any quicker. So it was already sort of on.
So could you get a comparison at all, or what did you think?
Look, you can still sort of feel inherently that the Hondas have sort of a DNA to them that you know I've ridden some other bikes, and you know Hondas, you know they're quick, they're quite stable, but they're more difficult to turn. You could still feel that that's part of the DNA, but because I'm going that slow, you don't really notice. But completely different engine and configuration, and these were lighter. Two-stroke, no engine braking. You know, you remember from go-kart days. No, you know, so that's why again you need rear brake as well to just and also for just balance. But you know, four-stroke completely different. This was all about RPM. So you know, these would, you know, our max RPM was about 12.3. It'd have a bit of over rev. So you know, a lot of two-strokes once you hit, it'd just stop. At least you'd have a little bit you could play with, just if you sort of needed a little bit more in the gearing. But you'd never want the thing to be spinning under about 9,500 RPM. Otherwise, again, it'd just fire you off, because as soon as it sort of has a gut full of fuel, it's going to burn it, no matter what how quick you can shut the throttle. That's why you had to use the clutch, because you'd feel it start to spin and you pull the clutch to just stop it straight away, because the engine's still going to fire up. So that's the only thing different between the four-stroke. You know, you just got a big torquey engine. You know, from nothing basically. Whereas these things you always were running, you'd have them geared for just in the narrow sort of power width. But you know, I think I was saying to somebody the other day, on the average, I'm not sure what they are, the new ones today. The average first gear on these bikes were about 160 kilometres an hour geared for first. You'd hardly. But then the next five are always fairly short. So you just get off because you don't need them. So. But
tell me, Mick, out of the current group of MotoGP riders, and the reason I ask this is because we just tested an old XU1 Trana and a GT Falcon from yesteryear and drove them and went, holy hell, these guys, they earn their money wrestling these things around Bathurst. How many of the current MotoGP riders do you think could come back and ride one of these in anger?
Yeah, you know? Look, I still think, you know, Marc Marquez, you know, Valentino's proven that he has. I think the guys at the top in anything, you know, at any era, can drive pretty much anything.
They're smart.
And the guys always, you know, and I said earlier that, you know, in the latter part of these bikes and the ones going to unleaded, this one here, it become easier for the guys to ride them, you know, and then they'd be just, and in qualifying gets quicker, but come the racing, it's still the same guys at the front, you know. So the margins for all of the electronic controls and whatever else, you know, help people when light fuel loads for qualifying. So, you know, qualifying become closer and closer and closer.
Yeah.
And the first 10 laps, you know, your elbows out fighting a few people. After that, they just either run out of puff or they can't ride it when the tyres go off. Going back to that, the good guys could still ride, you know, like the Marquez's, there's a bunch of people all the way through the eras, back to our old friend Barry Sheen, you know, the Kenny Roberts and beyond that. There's always only a few people, and those people I think could ride whatever, and that's why... You know, that's why eras are eras, you know. If we're all together, you know, you'd only have one show, wouldn't you?
Fair enough.
That's true.
Yeah. And I noticed down there one of your helmet designs, Mick.
Yeah.
It's a prototype.
Yeah, that's, you know, I was bored there one evening. But
Is that where it all stemmed from?
Well, here's the original here, wasn't it?
So that was the original when I went to Europe.
Oh, okay.
Up there.
Yeah, this one.
And so that there up close.
89.
Yeah,
maybe?
it's 89. So, and then
I saw the first guy to do something like that. So.
That's right. Everyone just had a normal stripe, you know,
And
like
they
a
put-
car helmet and whatever. So,
Just done in texture or something.
yeah, just something. But just to make it from a distance, that just looks white, you know, from 100 yards away. So it needed something to stand out a little bit. So then we went to that one, and then Arai then changed a little bit to come up with the second model there, and then they changed. We kept changing the design every few years, and today they still sell, I think, the one in the middle down there at the moment.
And commercially, very successful. How many did you see them?
Yeah.
Everyone had to have one of those helmets, didn't they?
No, that's right. I think it was the best-selling Arai at the time, but you know, they still dribble a few out now.
And what about car? And I spotted a few car racing helmets, and I know because of Jack's going down that road now to 4 wheels. But you had a bit of a dabble now and then with
that's right. So Andy Prio, so he won a few World Touring Car Championships, doing the Race of Champions. We swapped a helmet. Old mate Schumacher swapped a whole set of gear. I think his gear's down there. All these boots and suits in the corner, and the OMP stuff here. Oh no, these suits under you, just standing on him.
Yeah, sorry mate. I've got clean shoes.
But and also DC David Coulthards. But you know, this is from Mark here as well. Now Mark Webber.
Yeah,
that's good.
And again, old Frank Kitty. You know,
Darius,
so I don't have many helmets.
Good guy, Darius.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Bloody good guy. But you had a dabble in 4 wheels, and you had a few.
Not really. Only with those Racer Champion things.
Target Tasmania.
Oh, Target Tasmania. That was good. Checking the quality of the paint. So,
turn one of Germany's finest Mercedes upside down, didn't you?
So you know,
I remember I went to Sandown when just before you were doing some practice down there.
Yeah.
And I went out with you around Sandown to do a few laps, you know, giving you a few pointers.
Brakes?
Yeah. I remember that last set of corners, you know. He said, I feel like I'm slowing the car. I said, yeah, just use a little less brake. And you barreled in at about 150 with no brake at all. And I was hanging off of every grab handle I could find. You're pretty. Maybe that's the problem. You were too brave in a road car because you know it couldn't hurt you.
Well, I think that's one of the things. It's a bit like sim racing, I guess. There's no consequences, isn't there?
Yeah.
You know, so, but thankfully, you know, otherwise
You did
I
a
wouldn't
good job
be
of
here.
that sim racing when you did that.
You know, me and Crompton. So. No, it was a lot of fun once you knew there were no rules. So.
Did you find it? Is that why you never? I mean, no inclination to go into 4 wheels after you retired.
Again, you know, for me, it's okay. I might be able to get to a certain pace, but that extra bit, all you guys, you know, have done it for a long period of time. That extra bit, which takes all the time, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, if I'm going to put that much effort into sort of wanting to get that competitive, I might as well just stay doing what I love, you know, and that was bike racing. But to do the odd Race of Champions, you know, the average race was a minute, you know, so I mean, not the lap, the race was a minute, so at least I could get away with that.
The off-track activities would have been good fun too.
Yeah, you know, so that's another episode. But
Probably a late night one.
But yeah, the rest of it, you know, I think I had a drive of Paul's V8 out at Norwell at one point, and I think old Coco was trying to get me to do a race at surface at some point when there was some issue with some drivers or whatever, but never really any sort of serious thought about going racing. Gardner, Stoner, and the likes, they had a little go. Crosby, you know, a few of the other bike races. So Chicotto's done well in the past. Johnny Chicotto, he did well. And there's a few of them who've done well, but again, you know, I think perhaps even today is probably harder than it was back then when it was all about feel and driving the car rather than knowing the whole detail, everything is about.
Lots of little things, isn't it?
And that's
you got to go slow to go fast now, don't you? Which is sort of not natural, is it?
So,
and Jack, your son, he's carving out his career now, which I want to catch up with Jack. Actually, I believe he's down in your toy shed, so I want to catch up with him. And really interesting to talk about him, about his European exploits, and he's carving out his own career now. What I find interesting, Mick, is that, you know, usually sons follow the dad's footsteps in sport, you know, whether it be football, cricket, tennis, motorsport, but Jack's going completely right instead of left.
With the four wheels and then
different code.
Different code.
And which is good for him, you know. So, you know, I think we touched on it, but, you know, there is less pressure on him, but although there's still a little bit of pressure on there with the Doohan name anyway, you know, but equally it's not on two wheels, so he's not trying to sort of live up to what the old man did or didn't do, and he's making his own way through. But he's like karting, he's like bikes since he was young, just running around the property. But I think he did hurt himself, and I think that's what actually pushed him more towards karting. He hurt himself when he was about 5, broke his leg on a bike.
Okay.
And then sort of started messing around with go-karts, and his friends were go-karting. So then he went down that path, and he did quite well here in Australia. And then he said, if I'd win another championship, would you take me to Europe? And I stupidly didn't think it through too well. And I said, yes, okay. And he did quite well in Europe. So and then Red Bull picked him up and then threw him straight into their four, well before we thought I was going to do another year in karting with him. And
are you happy you went down the four-wheel road, you know, cars instead of bikes, or you went, or just whatever he wanted to do?
Whatever he wanted to do, you know. Certainly as a father, you know, and his mother as well, it's a lot easier to watch him on four wheels than on a bike. But you know, he's enjoyed. He works hard at it. So you know, while he continues to push himself, then we'll continue to support him in what he wants to do. But you know yourself. You guys,
he does work hard. He's got your work ethic, Mick, for sure. So.
He's got a good role model for work ethic and you need it because it's a tough gig he's going
against. So you guys know it's nothing's for nothing, and you know, and everyone at that level's quite talented. So you need to make the difference. So so he. So we're about to head back over there to start the F3 season, which will be a tough gig. The 30 cars on the grid, so
for sure.
Same track as an F1 with only half of that sometimes.
And it's cutthroat too.
Exactly.
You know, with European racing.
That's right.
It's kill or be killed. Like you got to. There's no second chances as well. So. Look, really appreciate you showing us around. I know you've got to jump on a plane and get back to Europe, so it's been an absolute honour coming down here and having a look around, Mick. And,
good to chat to you, boys.
It's
great insight on the bikes, which...
great, and that's what our viewers love. You know, they want to see, they like history of motorsport and especially legends of it, and you come under both those categories, so really appreciate it, Mick. But we're going to get down to your to your toy shed, and it's a pretty cool toy shed. You go see Jack. Hey Jack.
How's it going, guys?
Hey. How you doing? We got to.
Good to see you, mate.
You too?
Going all right?
Yeah, not too bad. Just
Messing
tweaking
around
up
with
the
the
carts.
carts? Yeah, mate.
maintenance.
Getting ready for us.
Doing a bit of training with these?
Yeah, definitely keeping sharp.
While you've been in lockdown?
Yeah, before I head back over. So doing the best that I can.
Pretty impressive man cave, mate.
Yeah, it is.
Just
Come
right.
on, look.
A lot of motivation here, isn't there? You look around the walls.
Yeah, definitely.
It's cool, the pictures and everything, isn't it? Like this.
Yeah, looking back at Dad, some of the old bikes and the new bikes.
Yeah.
And my little bikes. So the number 7 is the one that I first was riding when I was younger, and that's what I broke my leg on, and I think
in here?
when I kind of then stopped the whole two wheels and.
Mick was telling us about that. Yeah. So the intention was jump on a bike. But
yeah, well, that's from any time I can remember. You know, it was always two wheels. I think that's just kind of how it was. There was always more bikes than cars. And then had the Pee-wee. Had a couple of mates around on one of my birthdays, and came off and broke my leg. And I think that was.
That was a big show. I was here that day. That was a big show.
Oh, was it? Oh, you're here.
And the other guy ended up in the river.
In the river, yeah.
Serious.
So I don't know if I ended up better or not. But,
Okay, so bikes out.
Yeah.
Bikes out.
And then into go-karts.
Yes.
So you did quite a few years in karts, eh?
Yeah, so I wanted to start when I was 7, but as you could, but Dad told me you couldn't start till you're 8 because he knew what he was getting into, so he wanted to have a year of a breather before going into it. So I started when I was 8 and went all the way up till I was 14. So quite a big time in karts, to be honest.
And you did well. A few Australian titles along the way.
Yeah, a few of those in here, and then head to.
You know, Russell's got a few of them too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, copped a few along the way.
A few years ago, there wasn't.
Hey, not that many years. Jeez, you picked up some of your old man's cheekiness. But I love karts because I reckon I always look at karts and when you look at my hero as a race driver, and the most complete race driver was Ayrton Senna.
Yeah.
You know, by a country mile. And I remember during an interview, he said, Jeno asked him, what was your favourite form of motorsport? Karting. And actually Terry Fullerton, who was a legend in karts, and that's all he raced, never went to car racing, Terry Fullerton raced, and he said because it's raw, and that's what I liked about it. It was all about, there was no gadgets, no gizmos, it was all just about racing,
And one of my mechanics back in karting, he was a huge Graham Powers. He was huge, all into the vintage karts, and he was huge Ayrton Senna.
Vintage, see?
And and as well with Terry Fullerton, and one of the main reasons Terry Fullerton didn't go to cars was because his mum wouldn't let him with the safety.
Is that right? Okay.
He wasn't able to. Just the mum thought it wasn't safe enough. So
probably wasn't back then.
Yeah.
It was. But Terry raced here because at the CIK events at Oran Park. Used to come out here quite a bit.
Is that where you lost your finger?
Oh, yeah, actually it was Oran Park.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I donated a finger. Well, Mick donated probably a body parts to bikes. Mine was go-karts. But that's when they were a bit out of control. I reckon it's a great form of motorsport, and it teaches you so much about feel and racing, racecraft.
Yeah, that's the best thing, especially with like Formula cars, with the aero that you lose, and as you go up, obviously the aerodynamics gets higher and higher, and it becomes a lot harder to follow and actually have the racing aspect of it. But I think like any of us in cars would love to hop back into the karts, and come back for one of these races and be amongst it, and a bit of push and shoving. You can have that bit of side pod action without you're losing the front right corner. And
is that some of your championship? Because you've got your own. We just come from Mick's little. When I say little, his championship room. You've got your own one here. This is a couple of karts from the championship.
So 2014 when it was still under CIK and not the Australian Kart Championship.
Yep.
The rookie category was still a support category because I think back then they had in cadets and rookies, I think the dads there must have been a little bit of an issue with the competitiveness of hosting an Australian, something that big for such young kids. So at that point they didn't allow actual Australian championships. Yep. So the CIK was basically the most that you could do was over 5 rounds. So that was my first kind of, you could say, Australian title. It's not, I think, 100% classified as that.
We'll take it.
But I'll definitely take it too. So that was in 2014 before moving 2015, once it was then officially an Australian Kart Championship, the first year of that with the new IAME engines in juniors. So that was your 5-round championship. I think I won 3 or 4 of the rounds. So that was a good race. And then 2016 was kind of the year before going to Europe, and I had a couple races in Europe to get a taste of it. Absolutely got flogged. A huge, big, reality check. Getting over there and just being like, whoa, you think you're doing so well, and then you get over there and it's just like, boom, you're not making finals. You're struggling to not be in the last couple spots.
It's a big difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
I found exactly the same. It spun me out like how different it was.
So yeah, and then you come back home and you're winning the Australian Kart Championship, and you think the differences between the two. So yeah, I was lucky enough to win that 2016 series didn't finish 2 of the rounds, but won the 3 that I did. And there was some circumstances where others didn't finish rounds as well. So I was fortunate enough to be able to win the 3 years in a row, and then before moving to Europe. Into quite a solid team as well. So I was in a really good position with all the foundation that I gained back in Australia to then actually proceed into 2017.
So Formula 4, ran the British Championship when you went over in 18.
So yeah, that was a difference. I remember my first experiences coming into F4, and in the UK the tracks aren't as easy as some of the places other places in the world with you have the grass and then the wall.
Yeah.
Where most places we race on now as well, and this year in FIF3 you obviously have all the bitumen, the runoff, and then you have the gravel, and then you have the wall, and there's just there's not that fear factor. So we're going straight from the karts to cars, and I was quite off the pace, from when I first hopped in the car at the end of the year, because we didn't have ambitions of going to F4 for that next year. It was once I got put into the junior program, that was the obvious step. Initially I thought, maybe cars is not for me. Maybe I'm just going to be a go-kart racer. And I didn't think I was quick. And then I started slowly getting up to speed and joining the guys that had been doing the testing, for the last year, because that was their goal to do the next year. Didn't have a too bad of a season. Won 3 races, had 12 podiums, a few mechanical failures that lost us. But ended up rookie champion, and but 5th in the overall standing, so it wasn't obviously where you wanted to finish, but
that's a good effort.
Taking the positives from it.
First year of cars, because there's a massive jump,
isn't there? There's a lot to learn.
Going from, and you sort of missed the Formula Ford side of it, which is you're
in between.
You're in between, leaning out.
And you're away from home too, mate. It's
it's a big challenge.
Most kids wouldn't even cop being away from home. Not trying to race a car.
I was struggling to go down the shops. It's a big challenge, and I don't think people realise that sometimes the challenges are of you're out of your own country, different country, or countries.
Still doing schoolwork.
Yeah. I mean, it's a massive challenge, but so where does Mick come into this? Because the whole father-son thing, where the son follows in the father's footsteps, is usually the same category, same sort of cars or bikes or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But he obviously can't give you tips on how to drive a car. Is it more about life experience or?
Yeah, I think mainly obviously because there's 2 completely different disciplines. In some aspects, it's on 2 and it's on 4 wheels. The same approach, the same mindset, the same, quality race. There's the same approach and aspects that you take to both of them. So aside, mechanical side of things, the way you set the bike up, the way you set the car up, you still want it to come on at this time and not go off at this period. And the time management and the focus of the racecraft. So there's a lot of aspects that are quite similar, apart from he's on tour, and that's a lot more crazy than in my mind. You can we can make a mistake and lock the front, and it's okay. Where they lock the front and they're on the ground at 250. I think the main thing that Dad's been doing ever since I was young is just working with my mind and the focus. And he would relate to Michael Schumacher quite a lot. And just trying to think straight out of the box on anything. The car or the kart doesn't know it's the first lap. So just really get amongst it and just working into my head and trying, I think a main thing, at the emotional side of things and making sure there's no room for your competitors or anyone to be able to get an insight or a weakness or an advantage over you that they know they can use.
Because it's important, isn't it, dude? I mean,
mental games, everything.
Mental strength is important, isn't it?
Yeah.
In motorsport.
Yeah, like you can have the most, the best approach, like the best testing, the best car, the best engineers, all the talent in the world basically. But if you go there without the right with the headspace, and you're just not feeling, wake up, there's a few things on your mind, it can just, all go to crap because there's that one quali lap that you need everything to be, in tune. And if you're that slightly bit off, it's that bit from being in the top 5 to being at the back of the grid.
Well, that's why I think having someone Mick to fall onto as far as that, because I mean, MotoGP, you wouldn't get a category that's more about the mindset because of the dangers in it. But also, I think it's also really important. That was my failings when I went to Europe, and I went over for 6 years. Was I thought it was just about all on the track. I thought if I win races,
it'll happen.
Yeah, like, you know, Frank Williams will ring me up and offer me a drive, and
Right.
so I thought it was just about all on the track. But it's more than that, isn't it? It's about networking, and I remember Mick once had a bit of a go at me about that, about saying you don't network enough. You got to network more. And I'm going, yeah, no, I just have to win races, you know. But it's so important outside of the racetrack, outside of the race car, isn't it? You know, and that's where someone like Mick's guidance would be so valuable.
Yeah, there's been a lot of cases where there's been drivers who have by far got the talent, say, to be on the Formula One grid or to be on, you know, anything they've got their goal set to. They can be the fastest and, you know, head and shoulders above everyone. But once you take the helmet off, if there's not the right approach and not the right attitude, then, you know, you just can't have that. F1 teams need that that aspect and that attention to draw in, you know, like characters like Daniel Ricciardo and Valentino Rossi, that outside aspect that gets the fans and gets the media wanting to have that that publicity. And if you're not the right person or not the right, you don't have the right approach, then I think that just draws down that aspect of things. And yeah, he's quick in the car, but outside the car, you know, we don't really want to know him.
It's important, isn't it?
Important. I can't believe Jack's for a 17-year-old young man. Got a pretty good head on his shoulders, hasn't he?
Yeah, but you do, because look who you're up against.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing is about any top-line motorsport, once you get to Formula One, MotoGP, whatever it may be, rallying or whatever.
It's kill or be killed.
You only get one shot at it.
You got to go.
So you got to make all the right moves, like a chess game. Make all the right moves, otherwise you're going to lose the game.
Yep.
You know, and it's important. And you know, you're doing the right thing so far from what we see. I mean, we're just spectators, but we sort of half know about the sport. And you're right, you're making all the right moves, but ultimately, at the end of the day, you just got to, you know, on the track, treat it as if it's your last race. You know, you go out there and hit it hard. I'm sure Mick tells you that.
No, definitely, yeah. Obviously, you know, we can't just be hitting it out. You can't always have, oh yeah, it's my rookie season. You know, I've got time to learn, I've got time to get up to speed. And then in my first year at F4, okay, yeah, there was that aspect. You make some rookie mistakes in the first half of the season, but you don't want to be at the back. You know, you need to be, if you want to get to that ultimate goal, you can't be that person. That's going to take that time to get there. And then last year as well, there was a few little, obviously, rookie mistakes that were still coming in, and you just couldn't have those. And we got to the end of the year, and I think this year as well, because I haven't, you know, stayed in the same category for more than a year. And a lot of people do it, and you need to dominate. So going into this year, again, you know, as it says, you're a rookie, but you just can't have that approach. You know, you need other people come into the categories and they win, and that's, you know, that's what you need to do. And they're the guys that are in F1. There's no point coming, oh yeah, I'm rookie, you know, I came 5th, and you know, it's quite a good job. But
good
that gets
story
you
for your Instagram. That's
but
about
that gets
it.
you nowhere.
Exactly right.
Get people feeling sorry for you or whatever. But you know, the guys in F1, that guy that won, he's sitting in there with a good seat and his life set. But
and you're always, the thing it is about it, you're going to get, you know, it's probably a different mindset I find in Europe to Australia, where they say, oh yeah, you're a Doohan, so the path is going to be easy. But yeah, the path might be easy if you're on a bike, but you're carving and that's what I like about you going in a different direction, is that you're carving out your own deal. Because like I said, Mick can't help you with that. He can maybe help you with your headspace and meeting the right people, but at the end of the day, you're in a different category, so you've got to pretty well carve out your own path all the way, and it's going to be up to you, which is great.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to create, you know, my own, you know, not last name, you know, definitely there's a lot of influence, and I'm very grateful for the last name and how far that has gotten me, but it can only get me to the point that I'm at. And you can only speak to the people that you can, and
can't drive the car for you.
So
exactly.
Want to be able to, in a way, you know, create my own last name and really enforce with the Doohan as well. So it's not just, you know, the son of Mick Doohan. I want to be able to, you know, at least try and get up to that standard. Obviously 5 world championships is quite a reference, but that's what I want to be going towards. So I don't want to just make it. If I was to get to F1, you know, you get all that way. Why just stop there? And as you get up and closer, and obviously you mature, you realise. As a kid, everyone wants to be a Formula One driver, but as you get up and you get closer and that pyramid starts to get towards the peak, you really realise, you know, there's that 20 spots, and over that 5-year period, there's probably those 3 or 4 seats max that come available, and everyone on that F3 or F2 grid has the same, if not like more talent than what you do, but it's what, you know, you do that little bit extra out of the car. To go towards obviously your mindset and your approach and the way you involve yourself with the team, that obviously enables you to go that extra bit.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's good, isn't it? I know. You don't talk to many kids, like 7, well I say kids, I say that, yeah, but 17, 18 years old, you know, and you got that sort of mindset. That's maturity though, isn't it? Like, and you need that.
Yeah, and if you're going to sponsor someone like that, and that's one thing we haven't done a very good job of in Australia, is getting behind guys that can make it. Like you, Battle Rush, you went over by yourself with, you know, a can of baked beans and some spanners and stayed there, what, 6-7 years?
Yeah, yeah, you're right. That's a really good point, Paul, because the trouble is everyone's readily, like if you crack it, there'll be plenty of people going around patting you on the back and going, oh yeah, good job, you know, we're with you. But where are they now? You know, and the thing is, I always look at people like Rubens Barrichello, for instance.
Yep.
You know, he had support from his country, from Brazil. There's a lot of instances where people coming up, kids and people starting their career through F3, you know, Formula 2, whatever, have got backing from their country. You know, you're right. Australia doesn't do a good enough job in that respect. And if we want another Australian world champion, you know, they have to back him.
They do.
No, it's interesting. Good luck, mate. Look,
Yeah.
it's been really interesting. I know you're heading off back to Europe, so you're back over there, but straight into the first race.
Yeah, so straight into it on July 3rd, so no prior testing before, just straight into 45-minute free practice and then quali that afternoon. So,
Wow. So that's it, bang.
Yeah,
You know?
so get out in the kart for the final moments. You know, hopefully you can show me a little bit.
Well,
Get me
you're
sharp before
throwing
going
out a
in.
challenge.
Oh, of
Call
course.
him out, mate.
Oh, dude, I was pretty good in the kart.
We'll have
I was a
to,
bit
we'll
of a
have to
gun.
see.
I was a bit of a gun.
Well, you were talking about different eras before about whether the new MotoGP riders could ride the old bikes.
Yeah.
Why don't we see if the old go-karter can drive the new style go-karts?
I actually haven't run these before, so.
Yeah.
All right, I'm up for the challenge. I
Yeah.
always like a challenge.
We
All
put
right.
100 on it?
Saddle. What, on Jack? Yeah. Okay, thanks, Paul. Good on you. Nice looking after your old mate. All right, come on, saddle up. All right, Jack, give me a bit of a rundown of these rigs.
Yep, so it's a 175 super shifter, so it does have gears.
It's got gears.
Yeah, so six gears, so it's a
Really?
differential.
Yeah.
To get the clutch, I only need it for the start,
Yep.
just to get out. So I have to pull the clutch in, down first, and then all the way up. Don't use first around the track, so you'll be fine for that. And then once you're stopping, you know, if you can't find neutral, just like a dirt back, so all the way down and then half a click up.
Half
If
a
you
click
can't
up.
get
So
it
just
in,
like a bike, yeah.
can't get it in, just pull the clutch in, turn it off.
Last car that I drove was fixed drive, mate. You grabbed it and then started it, run around, jump into the thing.
in.
Oh, so clutch and gears. Holy hell, that's pretty high tech, 4 brakes.
Lucky you got a start motor, so
Yep.
down on the left here, obviously the black one's the start, red to stop.
Yep.
Left one's gas, right one's brake.
Yeah, good on you. Yeah, all right.
And there, apart from that, just put your lid
Beautiful.
on and
All
give it
right,
large.
let's do it, dude.
Awesome.
Let's get kitted up and let's see if I can take you.
Oh, we'll see.
All right, okay. Just warning you, mate. I was pretty good in these things. Yeah, I was pretty good. 4 times Australian champion, mate. baby.
Good, Russ? That career over, is it? Karting career done?
Jeez. Good job, mate.
Wearing a glove, so it's okay.
Oh, it would be, yeah.
Whew,
How was it?
that was good. Hey, I can see the value. Hey, going around doing this every day.
Yeah,
Keep
real
your
good.
fit, mind sharp. Mate, seriously. Whew, few laps, I'm absolutely buggered. Jesus, I'll tell you what, that is good fun. Thanks for that, dude.
Yeah,
Been a
no
pleasure.
worries.
Jesus,
No,
you're quick.
For me as well.
You're quick, dude. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, helps when it's a home track.
Yeah, that helps that you're not 55 too.
Home track advantage. No, it's good, dude. Good luck in Europe, mate.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Appreciate having us out here, and mate, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah,
We'll be
should
watching
be.
with interest.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We'll be there when you get your first win.
Awesome.
Riding on your back, mate.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Good
guys.
on you, Jack.
That was good, wasn't it, dude?
Incredible, mate. Incredible. Just amazing story. For me, Mick is Australia's greatest sportsman ever for what he achieved and how he did it was just to think what he accomplished
Yeah. I mean, things
with those injuries.
Like I said at the beginning of the show, you know, I learned things I didn't even know about him, and you know, to come back from that injury, you know, so quickly. I mean, it was a severe. They were going to lop his leg off.
Like the lop the leg off, and his quote was, I was winning so easy, I knew if I could just get back to being half a ride on the bike, I could still win. Like, imagine being that good at something.
Well, that was my point when we were doing the interview to him, when I asked him, like, how good would you have been if he didn't damage his leg? Like, he dominated. Well, I say dominated. Like, he's, you know, a couple of championships were close.
Yeah.
But imagine if he didn't do that injury to it, he would have won those 5 championships by a country mile.
By a country mile, and mate, 90% of Mick is up here in his head. He gets determined about doing something, and away he goes. And you see that in his business life now as well. He's very successful at everything he does because he's just mentally tough and strong. And you see those traits in Jack too. So
Yeah. It was good catching up with him. But you're right about the attitude. One thing I noticed about him, it's a bit like when we first rolled up here. Mick was on the edge a bit because they were flying out from Europe that night.
Yeah, he was.
He was a bit edgy, and he was a bit like, right, boys, we've got this amount of time, and you can. It always interests me with professional sports people that have been successful. You can tell it in their eyes. You look right in their eyes. And you can tell them there'd be like a light switch. They go from to it flicks in and it's killer mode.
It's going to get it done no matter what.
Oh, they do, and I reckon you're right in business. You know, the rumour is he's hard, but that's why he's been successful. But it's funny, you look at that and it's that killer instinct, you know, and not too many. I always notice that in the motor racing profession. I meet people and other competitors and that sort of thing, and you can tell, you go, nah, and then you go, whew, he's got a bit of nastiness about him, you know. It could be hard work, but
yeah, he just knows it's up to him to get it done. And what I like about what he's done with Jack, he's instilled that into him as well. And look, I've spent some time with Jack out here and driving around and doing some stuff, and they had and when we do a shootout here and stuff, it's pretty competitive, and we have some tough guys here. But you know, Jack was one of the fastest guys around here at the end of that.
I never done it before.
Yeah, in that off season, so he hadn't been. You know, he hadn't really driven manual. He'd been driving paddle shifts and whatever, and he just found a way to get to the front. So he's got what his dad's got for sure.
Yeah, I think so. And it's an interesting path, being totally different from bikes as well. And yes, I mean it's typical. Sometimes it's this tall poppy syndrome. You know, he's he's going to be easy. Well, yeah, look, there's no doubt a few doors will be open for him. No doubt about that commercially. No doubt about that. But hey, if it's there, grab it, because you'd be fool not to. But like Jack said, it's only going to take him so far. It's only going to take him so far. It's going to be up to him from there on. Yeah,
it's not going to be easy for him, but got a good mentor, mate. I'd love to have Mick Doohan in my corner if I was a young bloke.
Absolutely, for this. And, you know,
and all of Australia's got to get behind Jack as well.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. If we want another, you know, Mark Webber being the last, really, you got to get behind him. So we wish him all the best, and
I do too, mate.
And thank the Doohan family for letting us in their home as well. our friends from Grays Online.
Yes.
Great response when we tested the two old school cars, the Toronto and the
It just
Falcon.
went off, didn't it?
Yeah, it was good. But it was good doing that as well. It was good jumping behind the wheel of those cars and experiencing. We hadn't done it before. And yeah, that was real good. And you might have noticed
The bike.
in the background here, we've got an 81 GSX 1100 Suzuki, one of the absolute classic bikes of the era. They're really making a comeback, aren't they? The cool factor in these sort of bikes.
Those bikes from that era are. I was watching social media the other day and saw Daryl Beattie was out riding his CB 700 or something, so he's got an 80s bike as well. So
I reckon when you look at them, it's just this little frame, looks like a motocross frame with this big engine hanging out. They're just really cool. I really like it. And like the cars, bikes are going the same way. The retro is back, you know, retro and old school is back. And I reckon it's just super cool. This one in particular as well, the Suzuki, will be going up on Grays Online auction this week, I think as from Thursday.
So as with the Toronto and the Falcon as well, that were on the show. That auction starts this Thursday.
Excellent. So
classic cars and bikes.
Yeah, if you want yourself some cool stuff, Grays Online, classic bikes and cars. And yeah, you better, if you're interested in this Suzuki, jump on there because, man, there's, like I said, this really getting popular. And if you want to park your super money somewhere,
Put it better in one of those, wouldn't it?
Putting in classic bikes and cars at the moment.
You've made a few bucks trading cars over the years.
Oh, I have. I wish I still had some of them. I was a bit foolish about selling them too early because they just keep appreciating. Honestly, as an investment, classic bikes and cars, whether it be road or race, something with a bit of history, geez, they're a good investment at the moment. Really good. So you could do a lot worse than parking up your money there. So that's it. That's our show. Apart from our favourite part of all our shows, our Dude's Life message. You got anything for us?
Yeah, I reckon our police have been getting a bit of a hard time lately.
Yeah, they have been actually.
Like what's happening in America is not happening in Australia. No. It's not parallel.
Yeah.
We have our own problems, and so I think we need to support the police. And my message is support the police because you never know when you're going to need their support.
That's absolutely right.
It is.
It is, and I think people sometimes forget that. We're a big supporter of the Australian Police Force, on Enforcer and the Dude as well. You do a bit of car testing for the police force out here. You did the Kia Stinger.
Yeah, Queensland Police Services. We do all the independent testing for their vehicles there, and it's just a good organisation, mate. There's some fantastic people in this organisation, and we've all been pulled over by the police, and I'm having a bad day, someone could be having a bad day, but I guarantee you, if you show respect and do the right thing, it normally comes back to you.
Couldn't agree more.
And you never know, that person who's writing you for a ticket or having a thing, you don't know what he's going through personally, so if you're kind to someone, it normally comes back to you, 100% it normally comes back to you, so everyone just chill out and respect authority and let's get through these hard times.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to remember, it's a profession that's not, there's not a big pay packet. I mean, at the end of the day, they're humans too, and what you said, Paul, is absolutely correct. Showing respect. So good on our police, and hopefully everyone does support the police force in Australia. And like I said, it's our personal opinion on that, but hopefully it's everyone else's opinion as well. Right, let's take off. We'll be back in a few weeks' time. We've got a couple of cool things planned. So
I like what you got cooking.
Yeah. I think we'll cook up on that. Yeah. Put the mixture together. See if we can bake a cake of what the next generation supercar should be. So let's work on that. Thanks, guys. See you next time.
See ya.